Welcome to another episode of Axe of the Blood God, an independent RPG podcast. I'm your host, Kat Bailey. Joining me, as always, my lovely co-host, Nadia Oxford.
Hello, Kat. Hello, Eric. Welcome to the only podcast that will give you the clap, apparently, as I have understood from the sequence we went through before when we lined up our Audacity. Not that clap. We'll give you all the claps if you listen to us. 50 new kinds of claps. Subscribe.
Round of applause for Nadia.
Smash that bell.
Also joining us is my equally lovely co-host, Eric Van Allen.
Everyone at home, please check your cables. Make sure they're plugged in. Please acknowledge the cable's presence. Please thank the cable for all it does. We're having a morning
please
here.
Clap.
Oh my God, y'all. Please clap for the cable. It's working really hard.
Please clap. Our cables have the clap.
Yeah, we're really loopy on this week's episode, but once again, there's plenty to cover. Lots of news happening in the game space. The big topic, games keep getting pricier. What does it mean for RPGs? We'll also be talking about that apparent Chrono Trigger HD 2D remake leak from Yuji Horii, the GTA 6 delay and what it potentially means for RPGs, and lots more. But before we get to that, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/bloodgodpod. There's been a lot of terrible news in the games media this week, and Axe of the Blood God is a fully independent outlet. Please support independent games journalism. Support Axe of the Blood God, because we are all doing this full time. This is our job right now. So help us continue to do that. We've been doing it for the past 5 years, and your money will get you access to tons of bonus content, including, coming up this week, a bonus episode, a deep dive into Freeren, which we have been watching over the past couple months. We did a watch along with the Discord, and we're going to talk all about it on the show with a super special secret guest. So please look forward to that. We also have a monthly game club going for the Pantheon Vagrant story. That'll be happening next month. And of course, you get access to Charlian dropouts and other content as well. So lots of reasons to subscribe to Axe of the Blood God on Patreon. We also have a newsletter that goes out every Tuesday and Thursday. The free one's on Tuesday. Nadia's is on Thursday. Nadia, what did you write about this past Thursday?
Sorry, I was muted. It was kind of a rough week. I just kind of looked back at the value of independent artists, basically, with this, kind of terrible week we went through. I just figured I'd remind everyone just kind of how difficult it is when you're an artsy-fartsy kind of person and you got to eat. It's not always an easy sort of market to wade through. But the thing is, people like good writing, they like good reading, but you have people who come in and have all the money. They say, no, you don't want any of that, and they take it away, and unfortunately give far inferior stuff in its place, and people, that's what they take because that's what they're given. But some people out there, they still just want the authentic thing, and they care enough about art and writing and music to look for that extra little way to support their favorite artists. And I just wanted to encourage people to do that. Whether obviously if you're here, there's a good chance to do it to the Blood God. Thank you so very much. We have or will have independent projects that we really, really appreciate your support on as well. The fact of the matter is I have been quite independent for most of my career because I've seen this specific thing happen over and over and over again, where it's just like, you think you are secure. You are not secure. You don't know what you're just not. So at some point, being a weirdo who can't keep a schedule anyway, I said, well, I may as well just kind of go in for business for myself. And thankfully it worked out. I mean, obviously none of us are rich, but the fact that we can make any sort of living off our words and, terrible deeds is really humbling. So thank you, everyone. I just wanted to kind of celebrate you in the newsletter this week. If you subscribe to the $5 level, then yeah. And Poe.
Only when you can support Axe of the Blood God? You supported you, referring to me. The real answer was you.
If you support us, if you back us, you support Poe, this cute little cat here.
Oh,
and if you don't
such a
support
little
us,
cutie.
Poe doesn't get food. Do you want to starve Poe? Is that what you want to do? Is that what you're telling me right now?
That's one thing, but if Poe starves, like, come on, people, where's your humanity?
I can guarantee that nobody is getting laid off from Axe of the Blood God anytime soon.
Especially Poe stays the longest. That's in his contract.
Poe will outlast us all. Poe will be the last remaining host.
He's going to sell us out to, I don't know, who the hell would he sell us out to at this point, Valdet?
Whoever makes his Go-Gurt tuna snacks that I give him, that's who he would sell us out to.
Aw, don't sell us out to Inaba.
What a cutie. All right, let's get to the first topic. Games keep getting pricier. What does it mean for RPGs? Xbox raised prices for the Xbox Series X and S. The Xbox Series X is now $599.99. Good luck to them on that. The Xbox Series S also went up in price. Controllers have also jumped between $10 and $20, not $200, with the Elite Series controller Series 2 going to $199 from $179. Xbox's statement: "We understand that these changes are challenging and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development. Looking ahead, we continue to focus on offering more ways to play, more games across any screen, and ensuring value for Xbox players." And the kicker, new games coming out will be jumping to $80. So that is in line with the Switch 2 price increases, which we saw Mario Kart World is going to be $80. I think the remakes of Breath of the Wild and Twilight Princess, if you're not on the Nintendo Switch Online subscription, is going to cost $80. Wow. I mean, we saw this coming, but it still feels like a punch in the stomach, doesn't it?
I'm also getting the impression that Nintendo and especially Microsoft are saying, hey, we have these monthly things you can sign up for to make things a lot easier on yourself. Why don't you sign up for them?
My main takeaway is we are now kind of reaching a moment where maybe the traditional way of selling games begins to crumble. Yeah, that we are reaching an inflection point with big budget games where they're just out of the price range for a lot of normal people. And what are they going to play instead? Well, we're an RPG podcast. Genshin Impact.
It's free.
Games that you can download for free. Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, Infinity Nikki. Basically, there are a lot of pretty good-looking free-to-play games. I'm not going to comment on their monetization aspects, but a lot of people don't seem to care.
I completely agree with that. I'm very much looking at this and like what Nadia said, a lot of these companies do subscription efforts now. They do bundles. I think it's very notable that Mario Kart is getting bundled with the Switch 2 for a lower cumulative price than if you bought a Switch 2 and then a Mario Kart separately. Just go buy a Mario Kart. But I think the really interesting note in all of this is the idea that it's not just the model that might be unsustainable, it's the development cost of making something like I mean, like GTA 6 is the specter that hangs over all this, and we'll talk more about GTA 6 probably later in this podcast, in terms of recent happenings. But I think GTA 6 was the canary in the coal mine of making really, really big games has only gotten really, really more expensive, and the traditional buy a box copy and it will eventually recoup the costs was just not going to work in the long run, because sometimes you get a lot of money, sometimes you're a Monster Hunter Wilds or an Elden Ring, and you make just disgusting amounts of money from the millions and millions of box copies you sell. And sometimes you're not a game that sells that many, and you're a game that has to recoup costs somehow because you put in a lot of money to make these games. And so, I mean, the hotness right now is Clair Obscur, and I think it's worth pointing out that Clair Obscur is a budgeted, scoped game that is like not on the price range or production.
Is it $49.99?
It's $49.99. Yeah. Which is
okay. So that's darn right good. in terms of price for
that's been
a premium game.
thing.
It's a big budget game.
Yeah. It's been popular this year because you look at Eternal Strands, I believe the name of it was, that came out earlier this year as well, was getting some buzz because it was a, I believe, $30 game that was moderately priced, moderately scoped. And I'm not going to be surprised if we see more of this moving forward because I think it makes sense. Even I think Marathon is going premium route instead of free to play. I'm going to double check myself on that. But Concord, and we all talk about Concord, and we don't need to talk about like what happened to Concord. But I do think it's notable that Concord was a $40 game, and Helldivers 2 was a $40 game. I think companies are very aware that the era of the $70 game is over, so you can bump that price up, but you can also scope down and bump that price down to try and find some sort of AAA or AA budget level that can appeal to somebody who doesn't want to invest $80, $90, $100 on their next game.
I made the comparison on Blue Sky about how Nintendo was kind of like when I was the first one in my family who decided I wasn't going to marry Jewish, and we had to break the news to my grandparents. I was the first of the siblings to say, "Yeah, I'm not marrying Jewish. Sorry." And of course, they went bananas, and my brothers behind me because they didn't marry Jewish either. So they got it, but not as bad as me. So Nintendo's up here saying, "Yeah, sorry everyone, it's $80," and everyone's like, "Arr." And then Microsoft comes by, "Yep, sorry, it's $80," and everyone's like, "Well, that sucks, but I guess we kind of expected it by now."
Yeah, we made our peace with it.
Yeah,
I don't know if people made their peace with it. It caused.
they're not as furious. Like they were furious about.
It makes Switch 2 look good, almost good by comparison.
With the console hikes.
I mean, Xbox not only raised their prices, the prices of the actual consoles. They Nintendo is only some games, and Xbox is all games going forward. So that's pretty. It's pretty rough.
Like, Nintendo, I thought for sure was going to raise the price of the Switch too, but thankfully.
I think they knew they couldn't do that. I mean, like, I don't pretend to have insider knowledge. It's completely speculatory, but
so $450 was $450 was already the outside edge of what you could really get away with a console like that. So, and I'm not saying that Nintendo's looking good. I'm just saying that I said when the price release increases were revealed for Nintendo, I said on Kinda Funny that this is the way of things, and PlayStation's next, arguably. It's just prices are going to go up. Everything's going to get more expensive. The economy's going to collapse, and we're all going to die. Sorry, no.
Trump take
someday. We're all going to die someday. Sorry, I don't mean to be grim.
So did I. Soon. So did I.
But, yeah, I think that looking at Xbox specifically, in terms of raising the prices on their console, once upon a time, when companies wanted to just kind of send their consoles out to pasture, they cut the prices real low to sell a lot of them, because by that point they had kind of recouped a lot of the costs, so they could afford to do that. We're now in this era where prices just keep going up. I saw a meme of the grandma meme where the grandma's going, and prices on consoles used to go down. Okay,
sure,
grandma.
Let's get you to bed.
Sure, grandma. Whatever.
Yeah, because like Nintendo made the top loader NES back in the day. They kind of had a slimmed down SNES. Genesis had a
PS2 once had the PS2 Slim.
It's I like the PS2 Slim. It's very cute. And the PS1 that looked like his actual CD player, that was adorable. I actually want one, but you don't get that anymore. You're right.
Alas. But I don't know, it almost feels like Xbox is just saying, screw it. The consoles are already, sales are already through the floor, as we saw in the most recent earnings. So whatever, we'll just squeeze whatever we can out of whoever Microsoft does decide to buy an Xbox for some reason.
We shouldn't have done that Activision Blizzard thing.
So everything's an Xbox now. So, I mean, you can probably get an Xbox for pretty cheap.
That's right.
Your microwave's an Xbox. Your fridge, Xbox. DNA, Xbox.
Renaming DNA is now Xbox. What does the Xbox stand for? Zoxy, Nylon, Super. I don't know.
So, looking at the RPG genre specifically, I guess, I mean, Xbox owns a lot of RPGs at this point because they own Bethesda. So, and it seems like they're doubling down on Game Pass as a thing. Two of the biggest RPGs to come out this past month were both on Game Pass. And so I think that you can just expect to see that maybe if you're an RPG fan and you specifically like Western RPGs, Game Pass is going to probably be almost maybe the best option in many ways.
Absolutely. I mean, I already pay for Nintendo Online. I think for the price is good for what you get, but without it, I wouldn't be buying any upgraded versions of like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. But with the subscription, you may as well, because it's a great way to play the game again. And God knows I could always play Tears of the Kingdom anytime I want.
Yeah, I've been trying to drop my subs lately, and the hardest ones to drop have been the gaming ones because they were giving me quite a bit. In depressing for Eric news, I have been playing League of Legends again on the side with some friends who wanted me to get back into League of Legends. Yeah,
Eric, stop.
And look, we're all going through stuff. All right, just let me work through it. But Game Pass gave me access to every champion in that game, and so when I canceled it, I was like, oh, now I have to not play whoever I want to play anymore. And it's really weird how you notice the little things like that, and that is kind of where this is all heading. I feel I think there is some recognition in the market that there's some value in being the company that offers a service versus the one that has to eat the cost of a hardware, and so you see things like the Steam Deck and you're like, oh, that's pretty open, and we can get our stuff on there and reach a lot of people, and a lot more people have personal computers that are higher end than they used to. And if things keep trending this way, then a platform and a software platform is going to be pretty valuable. A storefront is going to be very valuable. There was an Apple and Epic to do this last week that was still tied up in all of those fights over storefronts and platforms. And so I think a lot of really, really big companies that make a lot of really big things for a lot of money are realizing that controlling the flow of distribution is getting pretty important as platform and hardware platform becomes less restrictive than it used to be.
When I think about the games themselves, I think that the genre that's likely to be impacted the most by rising prices would probably be your more traditional prestige single-player action-adventure games. Because when people examine, it's like, well, I could buy this $20 this 20-hour graphical extravaganza, but gosh, my wallet's feeling a little light these days from runaway inflation and high interest rates. So, but if you look at an RPG, a game like Baldur's Gate 3, for example, that's hundreds of hours of enjoyment. RPGs have always felt like if you buy this thing, you're going to get a lot of game out of it. I remember when I bought Final Fantasy VI on my Super Nintendo back in the day because I thought I didn't know much about it, but I did know it was long. And I thought, well, this will keep me busy for a while.
When I rented it, I got to the Esper Cave. Well, that was after a week. So I said, okay, well, I don't think I'm halfway finished with this game because I had opened up someone else's save file. I saw the World of Ruin. I'm like, what the hell is this? So I knew I had to play more and get to that, whatever the hell was going on. And yeah, it was a good 40 hours for me. 40 to 60.
And then on the flip side, you have free-to-play RPGs, which, I mean, they're grind fests, right? They're there. They exist to grind, and that itself is going to artificially inflate the playtime and give you plenty to do, I think. So what I'm saying is RPGs are going to rule the world, and we are all going to be kings and queens going forward here at X of the Blood God.
No money.
I think it also hurts the idea of original IP versus something that is established, because I think if you're going to make that game that costs $80, $90, it can't be something new. Like, you can't bank that on, unless you're FromSoft. They're probably the only ones that can really pull that off these days, but I think the $80 to $90 game is going to be your, I don't know, Resident Evils, your God of Wars, your like established brand IPs that even the normies will recognize and be like, oh yeah, that's the new one of those. Yeah. And that's why I look at something like Clair Obscur, which honestly could probably be franchised if you wanted to. I don't think you should.
They're going to. They're making a movie.
I mean, there's a movie, and I hope that movie is as French as you can possibly make it. That would be
make it so French,
fantastic. Just I can't do the Italian chef kiss with a French movie. That feels wrong. But but like I do think this starts to exacerbate a problem we've already seen in games, which is sequelitis and always seeing the same franchises come back, or your old favorite franchise is coming back with a new game, or this one's getting another one.
It's been remade using AI.
We've done a remake, and I don't even dislike the idea of doing some remakes, but I think for people who want new, this might be a frustrating point in time. But again, maybe the new goes to the budget game. Maybe the $30 RPG is the one that's going to be a little bit weird. We already had stuff like Diofield Chronicle. I'm never going to stop. I'm like the one person who's going to remember that game forever. I'm going to take that game to my grave.
A lot of the best games this year have been new games. Blueprints, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, now the 100 Line, Last Defense Academy. Did I get it right?
You got it right. First go.
There have been sequels. Obviously, Civ 7 is out there. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We're going to be getting a new Doom game relatively soon. But definitely doubling down on franchises isn't the easy fix that some people seem to think it is, because people are fickle and get bored easily and like novelty. And even Baldur's Gate 3, which has the big 3 title in the name, felt fresh and new because that franchise hadn't been around for like 20 years. And it felt daring in its own way, because you thought, there's no way that this is going to be a huge deal. It's going to be another niche CRPG. Oh no, it's one of the biggest games of the past five years. How interesting. So it's hard to take risks in this day and age, but there's substantial reward for it, because you aren't sort of the gray mass of remakes and remasters and franchise games and another Harry Potter thing and another Star Wars thing and whatever. A game like Expedition 33 can really stand out from the pack. And with so many games coming out all the time, everywhere, this giant fire hose of cheap entertainment, gotta stand out. So, and that's the other piece of it too, is there's so many games out there.
I have a
There's so many games. There's so many games that you can buy for like $2. Good luck releasing your $80 game. Gosh.
I do look at, I think an interesting parallel is what's been happening in entertainment, like movies lately, because I think a lot of MCU, Star Wars, like the content hose was on for that stuff, and video games have kind of become the new MCU. So you have a bunch of Sonic movies, you have the Minecraft movie, you have a lot of video game movies now starting to spin up at a rapid pace. But then you have something like Sinners hit the box office, and I think most people probably would have bet against Sinners if they were trying to look at it at a very like numbers. Oh, this movie about vampires, and it's very raunchy and not for the young audiences, so it won't perform well. No, Sinners is doing incredibly well at the box office, and it's breaking out, and it's getting a lot of people to want to go to the theaters. I was thinking about going to see a matinee later today because I'm just kind of eager to see this thing in theaters before it hits streaming.
Sinners?
And, yeah.
It rules.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people.
It's so good. Go see it in IMAX if you can.
Yeah, Thunderbolts is good, surprisingly.
I'm probably gonna go to like an Alamo and like sit down and have myself a nice meal and watch it that way.
Yeah.
But I really want to see it. But that's like, to make a weird comparison here, like Clair Obscur or Blueprints is like the Sinner's moment of, for the last few years, I feel like we've been fed a lot of, here's another Last of Us, here's God of War Ragnarok, and I respect and appreciate all the work that goes into all these. I think the game plan, the like shot calling, has been franchised, especially from very established publishers that see value in their IPs that can stretch across multiple media.
Because they want cost certainty.
Right.
They want to be like, well, a game from this franchise is going to make this amount of money, and we can build in all the numbers and do all the data, and we'll do all of this thing. And in this unstable and uncertain market, we're going to play the hits. And it's from people who have no imagination whatsoever.
And in some cases, like, I think even fools can find gold, because like I look at Fallout, and I think Fallout was in a pretty rough place before the TV show hits, and all of a sudden it revitalizes a lot of interest in new things from that series, that idea, that universe, whatever you want to call it. But also, we're talking about just regurgitating IP versus like Expedition 33. It's just being made by a team that really wanted to make this game. And I think we're seeing a lot of success from teams. And Sven Vincke from Larian, from Baldur's Gate 3, was out there saying this multiple times in the last few years. It's about making the thing you want to make, the thing that you're excited to make. And as long as you do that, you'll probably do okay. You'll probably do all right. And
maybe.
Hopefully. We believe it. We want
it's like
to believe
survivorship bias, right?
Yes.
Expedition 33 is a shock hit because of a carefully orchestrated marketing campaign that went right. But for every Expedition 33, there are literally thousands of passion projects that do not even make a ripple.
There's something like a
white knuckle. So you may
as
well make what you want, because like if you have a AAA game, there's no way like you have a
what's the name of that RTS from Frost Giant? Stormblood? Is that what it's called?
Stormgate.
No, that's a Final Fantasy.
Stormgate. Stormgate has tens of concurrents and has received sort of middling reviews. They're a great example of a studio that they got some funding. They wanted to make the game they wanted to make, which was another StarCraft. And it's kind of going nowhere at the moment. I'm sorry to say. I would love for it to succeed. But I think they are the norm more than a game like Expedition 33, unfortunately.
For sure. And I recognize that there is some, like you said, survivorship bias in those words. I'm also, and we'll talk more about this later when we get into some of the media stuff that's changed, I'm very of the opinion that, like, at this point, the world is going to screw you one way or another, right? And so if things are always going to go bad and get worse, why not just go down swinging? Why not, like, just go make the thing you want to make?
Make what you want.
Yes. Yeah.
You're gonna get screwed.
Well, if you're Ryan Coogler, you get to go down swinging. If you're everybody else, good luck.
Yeah, I mean that's what Blood God is. Like this is us here.
We're going down swinging.
We make the things we want to make. We literally sit down and we're like, we should do a side quest. Maybe we should think about a video game. And 5 minutes later, we're like, what if we did a book club? And you know what the cool thing is? Our Discord, our community, our listenership was like, yeah, we want to read books. Let's get really excited about books. Let's go. And that's been encouraging. That's been like energizing for me this week.
The funny thing about Blood God is there was a long time where I'm like, God, why did I make a podcast about RPGs? Why didn't I make a podcast about games as a whole? Why couldn't I have done something that was less niche? But then, actually, being niche is pretty good because it run toward the blue ocean, not the red ocean. And, well, certainly Expedition 33 ran toward the blue ocetion. You're gonna have a tough time in this day and age.
You want to thrive in the lake, not starve in the ocean.
Why is the ocean red? I've heard like blue ocean, but not like don't run for the red ocean.
That's where all the blood is.
Okay.
Let me tell you about the movie End of Evangelion. You see, the red ocean is.
So, yeah, it's. I think that video games. I think the video game industry is in for some pretty tough times. Actually,
for sure.
We are see, we are in a period of heavy disruption at the moment, to borrow a term that a lot of annoying business types like to use. And honestly, we've been in that period of disruption for a while, but it's becoming more and more acute. And especially with the way that the worldwide economy is starting to shake out, and just the nature of being a very tech-driven business is going to impact games disproportionately. It's funny seeing PC games. I'm very happy with my fancy PC, but PCs are just going to go up in price like crazy. Mm-hmm. A freaking GPU is going to be like $3,000 at a certain point.
It makes me wonder how, like, we're kind of seeing, as you said, a surge of people just kind of buying games for computers because they have great computers these days. But are we going to have a little bit of a console catch-up because people can't afford good computers anymore?
I think the console catch-up
Will we?
I think any sort of console catch-up is highly predicated on GTA 6, which is like, a lot of analysts are pointing at that as like, that will drive new console attach rate and interest in consoles, because people who have not already bought into the ecosystem will buy in for a GTA 6 that's only on a PS5 or an Xbox Series X and S, right? And so that was kind of the hope.
They can afford it.
Right. And so now that can almost be seen as a dub for Nintendo, because if GTA 6 isn't coming out until May, then there's a new Switch out, and people with disposable income might go there, but also people with disposable income might be spending that on higher prices because of tariffs. So like it's kind of all creating a weird doom spiral down.
I think a lot's gonna shake out this month, unfortunately, in terms of where we're gonna be headed.
I think the Switch 2, so I think it's interesting the Switch 2 demand has actually been very high.
Oh yeah,
it seems
there was a very big lineup when I went to go pre-order. I was surprised.
So it's still a quote-unquote reasonably priced source of entertainment. Will Pokemon be $80?
People will buy it even if it is. It doesn't matter if Pokemon's $100.
I don't think Pokemon will be, because is Za Arceus going to be cross-gen?
Yes.
I think it is, yeah.
Pokemon Za is going to have a Switch 2 version.
Yeah, I forgot what the full name of it was. I like calling it Za Arceus.
Pokemon Za
I feel if you try to do a cross-gen game at that scale, that's going to cause some hubbub, some furor, some zeal. So like, I don't think that'll be a high price, but I do start to wonder about, okay, next Mario, maybe. Donkey Kong Bonanza is still a $70 game, if I recall right.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, it's like, if they do it to Fire Emblem, man, Fire Emblem's gonna hurt even more. We're going back to the Dark Ages, Fire Emblem fans. I'm sorry, but like we were feasting with 3 houses, but like nobody's. Like, only we are going to buy Fire Emblem if that thing goes up to like $80-$90.
It's crazy. I mean, games are mainstream, which means that a lot of people are playing free-to-play service games. I think a lot of people will turn to iPads. A lot of people grew up with iPads.
Mine's broken.
A whole generation of people under 30 grew up playing games on their tablets and phones. And then people who continue to play premium experiences will be old people, hobbyists.
The people who listen to our show. How y'all doing?
They'll still exist. The kind of people who listen to Axe of the Blood God. And you know what? I say welcome.
Welcome.
Because it means that you are really passionate about the hobby as a thing. And I'm really passionate about the hobby. So come join us in this blue ocean, I say.
It's bliss.
Yeah, I don't think there will be a big surge in interest in consoles. If anything, I think consoles are going to be the ones that get squeezed out. Either you're going to have people who are on super premium experiences like PC, or they're going to be playing on mobile. And Switch can continue to exist in that, but I think it'll be a really hard time for Xbox and PlayStation. PlayStation maybe less so because of their established IP. Xbox, I don't even know at this point.
The thing I remember most when I was covering games during the recession is people bought a Wii, and this is just according to what newspapers were saying at the time. people were buying a Wii in lieu of going on vacation. They would have like, okay, we're going to Disneyland. Okay, we can't afford that. So here, this is considerably cheaper. Here's your damn Wii.
Here's Wii Sports.
Here's Wii Sports. And I feel like this was also around the time...
You want to know what's expensive? Going to Disney World these days. Do you know how much that costs?
It's
I'm not even thinking. I wouldn't even dream of it. I don't know how do people manage these things. That's the thing. No matter what happens,
they gamify Disney World. It's crazy.
Did they turn it into Mario World?
So now I feel like we talked about this the last time I went to Disney, but like they have a lightning lane thing now where you can sign up and you basically get a certain number of lightning lane tickets
for X
per
amount
day.
Of money.
But then if you want to go on a premium ride, you have to pay a little bit extra money to lightning lane that one. Wow. So if you're going to go like Rise of the Resistance, you have to pay an extra, like, I think it's $15 to lightning lane that one. On top of the money you've already paid to get the lightning lane access. Like that's...
Pay $15 to kiss my ass. That's what you could do.
You're spending $500 a person if you go to Disney.
But people still do it. That's the thing. And the thing I remember as well is that this was also around the time the Xbox 360 became a big thing, and people were still upgrading to HD TVs. They still bought the Xbox, of course. People find ways to get their treats. Although when those treats are completely gone off the shelves, who knows?
So
skiing. Good luck. That's you have to buy $1,000 Icon Pass if you want to have even a sort of affordable time going to go skiing. Being a sports fan, L.
God. Well, it depends.
I'm never going to leave.
I subscribe to like 20 different streaming services, and going to a stadium is going to be probably, if you're going to say, I don't know, a football game, that's going to be like several $100s.
Can you imagine a Leafs game?
The cost of concessions is like you go buy a beer and you go get a drink and some food, and you're suddenly spending more than $50.
Yeah.
Oh, easy. I went to the movies and I spent like $40 on like concessions. It was ridiculous. It was just.
I will say it depends on the sport.
Too damn high.
Your local soccer team still has reasonable prices. I have found
San Jose Earthquakes.
Yeah.
They're terrible. They're cheap.
Honestly, I love it. I love it when the team is losing because that makes the tickets cheaper. That's great. Like
costs nothing to go. That's amazing.
Like booing every time they score.
Go
and then
support
like,
your local women's team.
Yes,
they're probably going to be affordable, and you're going to get an amazing experience. Go support Bay FC. Go support your local women's professional hockey team.
Canada actually just got, as I understand it,
Minnesota Frost.
A women's soccer league that's actually produced by a very good friend of mine from the Mega Man fandom back in the day. So, yeah.
Support the WNBA, even though they screwed the Minnesota Lynx with that extremely questionable call just to give the Liberty the championship. Boo hiss. That's all. That's all.
Very enthusiastic boo hiss. I like that.
Yeah.
Boo hiss. Anyway. All right. Anything we want to add in terms of things getting more expensive? I mean, this has been the way for a while now, but it's becoming more and more acute.
I mean, I was talking about this in the Discord the other day, but like, I was looking at the Retroid Pocket Classic and being like, oh, this seems neat. And I'm really in my hardware retro tinkering era. I should look into this. And then as I was looking at that, I had another tab open and I looked at that, and it was Ambernick pausing all shipments to the US because of the tariff prices. Yeah. And I went, oh no. Yeah. And so I panic bought a Retroid Pocket Classic that's probably going to arrive pretty soon because I was like, I don't know if those are ever going to get here again.
Don't you already have an Analog Pocket, man?
No, I don't have an Analog Pocket. So I have an Ambernick SP that you can see if you are watching the video version of this.
I love my Analog Pocket. It's an amazing little device.
So I wanted the Retroid because it's a brick shape. It's like classic Game Boy shape rather than the Ambernick clamshell.
The classic GBA. Yeah.
So this is like the tall brick shape. It also has a 6-button layout, so it works really well for your Genesis and your Saturn. And I was like, that's pretty nice because like this Ambernick's great for like Game Boy Advance, but if I want to play some Saturn or something like that, it's not really holding up.
Saturn.
So I want to play Dragon Force maybe, or like some Panzer Dragoon. I don't know.
I put every 8 and 16-bit and plenty of arcade games on my Analog Pocket, and I'm shocked by how well
The Pocket's
it all
powerful.
runs. I've got
good.
CPS2 arcade games on this thing.
I get this thing
from Capcom. I'm playing freaking Puzzle Fighter 2, running like a dream. It's so much fun. Anyway,
yeah, that was a moment of sheer panic where I was like, that's only going to get worse, so might as well do this now.
Yeah. I've still got my Analog 3D coming. Glad I pre-ordered it when I did. But
yeah.
Video games. Well, the good news is you always got your Steam Summer Sale, which is coming up soon, and then you can get plenty of those games for like $10. So if you just wait a little bit longer, and that's why the video game industry price model is kind of effed up. But on that note, let's head over to the headlines, which are coming up right after this. Okay, it's time now for a series of random encounters. A Chrono Trigger HD 2D remake was seemingly confirmed by Yuji Horii, in which, during a panel, he said, "Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a remake of Chrono Trigger is coming," in which he was told, "You take responsibility for that." And then he said, "You haven't heard anything yet." Gamatsu later confirmed it was not real via the VOD. We watched a video of that. So like there was a lot of confusion over the translation because people were saying that he said, "Oh, it's real," and then someone whispered in his ear. So lots of confusion, but basically it sounded like Yuji Horii was saying, "Yeah, I heard maybe there might be a remake."
Yeah, I think
Possibly.
Gamatsu got out there and was basically like, "Hey, the stuff that's going around right now is not accurate," because like Gamatsu has listened to.
It was a Reddit user who said, confirmed.
Historically, in the history of the U.S., Reddit has never started a witch hunt over anything and gotten it wrong. So,
Historically. French President Emmanuel Macron praised Expedition 33, calling it a shining example of French audacity and creativity.
It's the funniest combination of words.
French audacity. I mean,
French audacity.
Two words that
this is definitely the first time that the name Emmanuel Macron has been mentioned on Axe of the Blood God. So, Borderlands 4 has been moved up and will now release on September 12th. EA has been hit with a fresh round of layoffs with a Titanfall extraction shooter among the casualties. Sea of Stars' DLC, Throes of the Watchmaker, has a release date. It'll be out May 20th. Bethesda has asked Elder Scrolls fans to suggest Oblivion remastered improvements with difficulty scaling among the top ideas. And finally, GTA 6 has been delayed to 2026, sending shockwaves through the 2025 release calendar. Well, we're an RPG podcast, so we don't give a about GTA 6, really, until we do an episode about it, because we will. But how does this impact the release calendar for RPGs in 2025? I say this is an absolute win. If you're an RPG developer,
good to hear, Bruce Banner,
releasing a game in the fall, which probably there will be. We are about 1 month away from Summer Game Fest, in which we see a lot of games get locked in. Plenty of them will be RPGs. GTA 6 would have sucked all of the oxygen out of the room. So that means that games like Expedition 33, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and such will be getting a lot more oxygen, I want to say.
And Trails in the Sky first remake is probably
Trails in the
fall.
Sky.
I think it's set
we may
for like
even we may even do a review of it.
Yeah.
Have we seen anything of GTA 6 other than that one trailer where they probably spent a lot of money to get Tom Petty?
Well, officially, that is all we have seen of GTA 6.
Oh, officially.
Officially.
Theoretically.
Bill of 31 does accurately point out that people literally roleplay in GTA, which is accurate. There are role-playing servers. That is a thing to delve into. It's almost like a tabletop thing. People set up stories to play through.
I actually looked this up. It's extremely interesting. It's really no different than like FF14 roleplay, except people are hitting each other with cars instead of having sex in the quicksand.
Yeah,
with cat people.
And it's interesting because I think Rockstar had basically got in touch with the makers of one of the largest role-playing setups to kind of work with them on what was coming next. And so I am really curious, and I wonder if this is my big brain theory, if a lot of the push to 2026, which I think was inevitable. I think that was going to happen. The writing was on the wall there, but I wonder if that is to avoid another situation where the online component has to be pushed out from the single player component. If people remember how GTA 5 kind of rolled out, like GTA Online was not exactly all put together. I don't think it had heists when it launched and stuff like that. And I think they want to maybe roll out a little bit stronger at the start, because everybody knows the thing you don't want to do is have a Cyberpunk or a No Man's Sky or something like that on your hands. And can you imagine if GTA did that? It would just be catastrophe. So I think Rockstar is just maybe very cognizant of that and push to be like, we want to get this right on the first swing.
Yeah. I mean, they already have some bad press with the remasters of the GTA games.
Yeah.
Terrible job on those.
Well, this is going to be the game that fuels their bottom line for the next 10 years. 10, 20 years.
I'm never
not
going to
joking,
see
by
Red
the
Dead
way.
Redemption 3, am I? Like, not until I'm 60 if I'm lucky.
They might.
I think after
give it,
GTA 6.
Give it 10 years.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, though. I got to wait 10 years.
Yeah.
Ride a horse.
They did kind of complete the full story of RDR1 and 2. It's a little bit of a Last of Us situation.
I guess
Because
so,
RDR2 obviously was a prequel. Tahiti! You gotta have some goddamn faith. And then they finished the story in RDR1, so they would have to tell a whole new story set in the Wild West.
I just want to ride a horse. Tell me whatever story you want. I just want to give me an Arabian horse.
RDR2 is still very successful, despite the fact that Rockstar basically abandoned the online mode. People still love it because it's a really freaking good game, actually.
I loved it. I had a great time with it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it back in the day. But congratulations to all the developers in 2025 who are planning on releasing games in the fall. You're all winners today until Silksong comes out in September, which seems more and more the case. Apparently, it's going to be shown in a Australian museum. By the way,
that is so weird. Why is that happening?
Silksong's definitely my most anticipated game for the rest of the year. Barring whatever Nintendo reveals for the Switch 2. New Fire Emblem?
Please, new
Fire Emblem.
Emblem.
I just didn't like Hollow Knight. I wish I did, but I don't.
Hollow Knight rules. And Silksong looks even better.
I need to play Hollow Knight at some point.
Oh yeah, you should. It's excellent. It's very Soulsy. A Soulsy Metroid. And hard, but beautiful. Lance Hart mentions that there's 3 Trails Beyond. There's also Trails Beyond the Horizon coming this year, so that's 3 Trails game in 1 year. They're going at the speed of Yakuza at this point.
Yeah,
good for you, Falcon.
So calm down, man. Looking elsewhere, so we talked about Chrono Trigger briefly. Do you think a Chrono Trigger HD 2D remake is going to actually happen at some point? And is this the thing we want?
I don't know. And do I want it? I also don't know, because Chrono Trigger looks kind of perfect as it is. Like, there are other quote-unquote imperfect RPGs that technically you don't have to remake, but would benefit from a remake. But even so, it's like I say to myself, okay, well, let's remake Final Fantasy VI. Sure, if you could do that in the style of Octopath Traveler 2, where you already have those little sprites up against these big-ass, portrait-like enemies, I think that would work really, really well. I don't know if Chrono Trigger needs to be 2D HD. It's something about its colors all meshed together perfectly for me that it's the one thing I've always loved about it. And changing that around might kind of screw with that balance. But on the other hand, Dragon Quest III 2D HD looks really nice. Octopath Traveler 2 looks fantastic. Do it, just don't screw it up. If they screw it up, it's going to be people are going to be very angry about that.
I thought Dragon Quest III HD looked great. And I would expect a Chrono Trigger remake to be on that level because, I mean, surely Square knows that they can't screw this up if they decide to go and do it. It's probably one of the best RPGs ever made. Consistently called one of the best RPGs. So you can't. People will be real mad. Remember the PC debacle, Nadia?
Hey, I was the one who yelled.
We chronicled that in real time here on the podcast.
I yelled first and loudest. I take credit for that.
I think my thing with Chrono Trigger is that as I have been going back and doing a lot of my due diligence and education of my young mind that was not, present for many of these early games, a lot of games don't look great when you play them later. And a lot of games, the pixel art maybe looks, fine for the time, but it doesn't always age super well, or it doesn't, work well on a new monitor or something like that. Chrono Trigger is not one of those games. Chrono Trigger still looks really, really impressive in a way that I would only stack up against the likes of the GBA Fire Emblems or classic Street Fighter, where just those designs, the direction, everything about them is so pitch perfect that it just ages incredibly well, no matter what. So with that in mind, I mean, HD 2D could maybe add something, but does it need to add something? I don't need light bloom on every pixel. I don't need a weird like diorama effect. Like that was kind of my thing with Link's Awakening was, and I know I'm a grump who is probably in the minority on this, but one of the reasons I didn't like the Link's Awakening remake was the original game had such a compelling, interesting feel, art style, direction, and turning it into kind of a toy box diorama was definitely cute. It's a cute art style. Like in a vacuum, I enjoy that art style, but I'm going like, that doesn't do anything for Link's Awakening. It just kind of makes it like, oh, look how cute Link is. I'm like, yeah, he's cute, but like, why? Like why does he need to look this way? Why can't we have him look the other way, which was perfectly fine before, and this doesn't add anything. It's just kind of doing something to do something. And that's what I wouldn't want the Chrono Trigger remake or HD 2D or whatever it ends up being, or whatever it is or is not. I wouldn't want it to do it just to do things. And in the same vein, I really worry about any potential adding of content, because I think Chrono Trigger is not only an incredible RPG, it is paced, it is tight, it is compact. I would describe it as a box. You get a box of just pure goodness that you crack open, and it is filled to the brim with good RPG, and it is exactly what it's going to be, and you're going to get that whole experience in one go. And I don't know that we need to, like, I look at FF7 Rebirth and I'm like, you can turn that nozzle too far. You can turn that dial too far and put too much stuff in the new RPG. And I worry about that. So I think there's a lot of reasons that going back to Chrono Trigger could only lead to disaster. And I'm sure there's a lot of nostalgia. I'm sure I'll probably be in the minority again if this ever happens. People will be like, Chrono Trigger,
what if Yuji Horii, okay, would you accept a new side story by Yuji Horii in a Chrono Trigger remake?
Yeah,
I would.
I think if there's a reasonable
sort of like what they did with
scoped-
Dragon Quest III HD.
Yeah. I don't worry about, and people, Lance Hart in the chat is pointing out the DS version of Chrono Trigger. I think there is a way to add content to a game without necessarily drawing away from it. I point
the
to
DS
Rebirth
version connected up to Chrono Cross, I think.
Yeah, it does.
If I recall correctly, it had an optional boss battle and like some optional dungeons and such.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about how Chrono Cross may or may not link to Chrono Trigger. Please don't tell me, because I may play it on stream one day.
You don't want to know.
I'll have fun with that.
I want to discover
Go listen to our Pantheon episode of Axe of the Blood God, which you can access for $10 a month. But
I would like to play Chrono Cross on stream one day, because I think that would be fun. And playing Chrono Trigger on stream was very,
you can
very
listen
fun.
to that excellent battle theme.
Da, da, da. I mean, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from with that battle theme, but the rest of that soundtrack is just epic.
Oh yeah, for sure. The rest of the battle theme whips, and the song that plays on the credits. What's it called again? I can never remember.
I know the one you're talking about, but it's actually really sad. I like it a lot.
It's probably Mizuguchi's best work, but
yeah.
Mizuguchi? No, the other one. You know who I'm talking about.
Mitsuda.
Mitsuda. Sorry, my apologies, Mitsuda-san. But I think that the original Chrono Trigger is perfect as it is, and the only thing I want is for it to be more widely available and more played. Somebody, I think it was Lance Hart, pointing out that you can now play Chrono Trigger in ultra wide on PC. which
Hey,
is
that's
great.
good. Put that on consoles, please. There's my
But
Chrono Trigger remake.
you can't really
I'm
get it
good.
on consoles, so it would be So I always support a game being more widely available. So hopefully we get it. If we do, it's probably very early in development, and it'll probably be a while before we see it. So, another item, maybe. So we were alluding to this at the beginning, and I just want to talk about it for a little bit. So, big waves in the games media this past week. Giant Bomb basically lost everybody. Jeff Grubb, Mike Minotti, Dan Reichert, all great people.
That's crazy, yeah.
All gone because my understanding is that fandom wanted to turn Giant Bomb into a guide site.
And a PSYCH podcast.
So I think that part is a little unclear and also a little mixed up in a lot of stuff. The big headline is that fandom, first of all, purchased something. For those who don't know, Giant Bomb started because of a walkout that happened at GameSpot way back when over a Kane and Lynch review. Started as its own thing
Long ago.
Was under Whiskey Media, then went to CBS, and then was eventually sold to Red Ventures and to Fandom. And so it has gone through multiple ownerships, and the vibe that was given off during all this was that Fandom maybe didn't know what they bought, and somebody was finally made aware of what they bought. There were a lot of crackdowns in terms of brand safety. There was a bombcast that went up where they the folks at Giant Bomb kind of rolled their eyes at the idea of brand safety guidelines for a site like Giant Bomb.
That's funny.
And I think push came to shove, and a lot of people stuck to their guns and stuck to their ideals because that is what got them there in the first place. And so my understanding, I'm not trying to speak or break news for anybody or anything like that. My understanding is that it's been a walk. Like people have, in one way or another, all left. And there was even a very milquetoast, very Chat GPT-esque statement put out being like, Giant Bomb fans, don't be concerned, we're working on creative directions. And it's like, we all know that nobody at Giant, like, that does not have the tenor of somebody that is like of Giant Bomb. Like, you are, like many other things, like your vices and things like that, you have now put your arm inside the puppet and are moving its mouth and trying to convince us that it's real and still alive.
Hi-ho, just Giant Bomb.
This is what we need. The Independent Games Media Alliance. The Independent Gaming Journalism Alliance. Where Axe the Blood God and Easy Allies and Game Mess and all of the journalists who got laid off and started their own thing, we come together in a web ring.
Yes,
where we all sign each other's guest books and support one another.
I mean,
through.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, we've kind of done that, and like to give a peek behind the curtain, I feel like in the past few years, whenever we've tried to bring guests on or do our charity streams and stuff like that, we do try to highlight not just people who are at websites and stuff like that, but to bring in awesome folks from independent places, from standalone places. We try to shout them out as much as we can on the podcast. We do. Because ultimately it is going to be, I said this on Blue Sky, but we're going to need to support each other through all this and like build each other up, because I mean, alongside this, I mean, do you just want to also talk about Polygon and kind of rip the Band-Aid on both? Because this happened like Polygon, basically the same day.
The same day, Polygon.com was sold by Vox to Valnet, a site that is known for, among others, Screen Rant, various other sites, and has been called a digital sweatshop by the Wrap because of the very low rates that it pays to contractors to basically create clickbait. I don't mind being harsh on Valnet here. And in the process, numerous long-tenured journalists were laid off. Chris Plant, Matt Leone, who we knew from our days at OneUp.com, one of the last standing OneUp people.
I was saying he's one of
who
my
still had
mentors.
a full-time job. Nicole Carpenter, one of the best reporters in the business. Numerous others, and it's kind of the skeleton crews remaining over at Polygon, who they're keeping the lights on, but for all intents and purposes, the Polygon that existed up until now is gone. And I remember when Polygon started.
Me too.
And it was this all-star collection of game journalists at the time. And they did a freaking documentary about how they were going to change game journalism. And it was easy to roll your eyes a little bit at that one. The McElroys built their brand on Polygon and before going off to their own adventures. Many great names came through. There was a lot of really fantastic journalism was committed on Polygon. It was home to great writing for many years. We were talking earlier about Matt Leone's Final Fantasy VII oral history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really
which he worked on over the course of like a year. But he traveled to Japan multiple times to do. But the final product was incredible. Really amazing.
Can you imagine, like, one of us or anybody these days getting funding to go to Japan to talk to people about this feature that would be published and something you could actually make a living off? Because yes, of course, you're putting this research into it. You deserve to have that stuff kind of covered for you. God, it's impossible to even think about these days, because now it's like, well, you're getting a cent a word, go for it. I don't know anything about this. It doesn't matter.
So, yeah, I mean, what else is there to say but, like, the sky is falling? The institutions. I talked about this back when Game Informer.
Yes, Poe agrees.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I talked about this back when Game Informer was first shut down, but it's not just losing the sites themselves. That itself is a loss, a job loss, a market loss for people, for individual people, the people that made these places what they are. It is a loss. And you cannot pretend to buy a car, rip out the engine, and say it's still going to be a contender. Like, it's patently obvious what somebody is doing in that situation. It's a loss of an institution too, because
it is.
I look at, and when I say institution, I want to stress that this is not just about how large these places were, how built in they were, what kind of funding they had. Well, this is kind of what funding they had, but it's the idea of, if you are someone breaking into the industry right now, the place you would try to go was for me, it was, I want to land a freelance piece at Polygon. When I got my first review at Polygon, it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
I was so excited.
It was a great byline to have. It was very prestigious.
Editors. It was mentorship. It was a structure that could afford to pay for these things, for these trips, for everything that could do the good work. Because ultimately, if we start to strip that away, there are going to be places like us, like But Why Though, like Aftermath, like all of the other independent endeavors, like Easy Allies,
Min-Max,
like Min-Max, who genuinely do try to provide an independent voice in the space. But increasingly, if there are not institutions that are required to be in the room and allowed the space to do the work of asking the questions, we're going to see a lot of things go unchallenged. A lot of the reports, if you've ever thought that the closure of something like a Polygon or a Game Informer doesn't affect the way that you talk about games, the way that you view games, I want you to just open Reddit on like a Tuesday, like r/games, and read down and click on links and go to where that news is coming from. It's coming from these sites. These reports are coming not from the ether. They're not appearing, and they're certainly not being made by people who are posting on Reddit. They're coming from Jason Schreier, Nicole Carpenter. They're coming from all of these
Rev
reporters.
Valentine.
Yes, Rev Valentine, Nathan Grayson, like
Wesley
all these
and
people
Poole.
who are doing the work, who are out there doing the work. And when we lose the institutions, we lose the people that do the work, and we lose the mentors that teach new people how to do the work. So there are more that come after. I love what we do here at Axe of the Blood God, and we do try to do journalistic endeavors, but like, I'm not doing an investigative report on how Roblox is screwing over something right now or whatever. Like, that's People Make Games is. You should support People Make Games. But like, that is what we lose, is we lose institutions. And so that is what makes me concerned moving forward, beyond just the hardships that are felt for people that I know and care about in this space. We are losing the function of journalism in a well-managed society. Like, not to be Chicken Little here, but it's bad. Like, it's really bad.
I believe today is International Press Freedom Day, or World Press Freedom Day. It's a bad time to be a journalist in the world, unfortunately.
Oh.
My Windows virus says it's National Koala Day.
Well, pour one out for all the YouTubers who put a news article from IGN or Polygon in the background, and then scroll down reading it and making faces while they react.
And
it's going to be a hard time for those guys.
There's many kinds of content. Like, we here on the podcast, when we do random encounters, we open Eurogamer.net or something and just start going like, okay, what have been the headlines from this week? And there's all kinds of servicing of this. And so I also want to point out, we kind of jumped into the Polygon stuff, but I want to quickly like eulogize Giant Bomb if I can. Like, on the flip side of the journalistic endeavors and institutions, there are like the people that make the entertainment that you want to hear and that you care about. And like, Giant Bomb is a very sentimental thing for me personally, if it hasn't been obvious over the years. I only got into games media pretty late, around late 2014 thereabouts. And when I started paying attention, it was Giant Bomb that drew me in.
You're a grizzled veteran, man.
Yeah. Now I'm a grizzled veteran. I used to.
That's more than 10 years. If you can stick around that long, you got the badge.
But when I was getting in, when I was starting to pay attention and recognize stuff, it was Giant Bomb, and it was the chemistry, it was the ideas, it was the production of cool, interesting things that I've tried to learn from over the years. Like, I look at things like Steal My Sunshine and 13 Deadly Sims as like really innovative, interesting ideas in the game space about how to make content and do cool content. And they were the people that were going to E3 and hosting these late night shows. I always said, I'll feel like I've made it in this industry if I get to be on the Giant Bomb couch. I got to be on the Giant Bomb couch several times, and I'll always be grateful for the incredible folks there that do that work. But, and I'm sure that those folks have something that is next. And I hope it goes well. I hope to honestly get them on the show soon to talk about whatever is next, and maybe talk with them about the history of this stuff. But that is, again, the loss of, Giant Bomb was made by people, and those people will hopefully have historically gone on to other things to do great things, like Nextlander and the Jeff Gersman show will hopefully continue to go on and do incredible things. But it is, again, the loss of an institution, the loss of a thing in the space. And it's really hard to feel that out. It is a tangible piece that has been torn up by vultures, by companies that want to make the very experience of being on the internet suck ass worse than it already does. And I think that's the gut punch at the bottom of all of this is like, we're talking about Valnet, which has, go read that rap article. It's very informative, even if Valnet is suing for defamation over it. It's nice. It's very informative about where Valnet comes from and what its goals are for its sites and for its plans. And even if you go look at fandom, which I don't know if you've opened a fandom wiki on your browser tab lately, but if you have, I'm sorry, it will unfreeze.
It's probably
soon.
crashed.
Yeah.
You might want to hit Control-Alt-Delete and just end process from the roots.
Fans on my gaming PC just go nuts.
Yeah. And also, like, wiki is entirely built on like fan contributions, on community contributions. We've built an empire on work that can be as cheap as possible, which is just the internet is just the shovel of shit. And so that is also the thing I worry about. And so support the people that make not shit. Support the people that make good things is the end of this rant, I suppose. But this is a real gut punch of a week for people who care about voices and good work in the space. And if you're cheering it, I don't know. I hope you step on a Lego. That's the nicest thing I can say on a podcast. I hope you step deeply on a Lego.
Anyone who cares, like, everything that's going on, just kind of cheering their own demise. At this point, I just look and shake my head and say, "What do you want, dudes? What do you want out of life? Do you like being alive? No, I'm sorry. I like being alive. I don't need your hassle because you don't like it."
All right. The last thing I want to talk about is I want to talk more about Expedition 33. A game that I'm still playing. I'm well into Act 2. And I think maybe not long after we recorded the last week's podcast, I got into a DM, which Eric has, I think, evidence of. And I said something to the effect of, "I regret my words and deeds."
Like Hideo Kojima told you would. All right, it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
You just didn't know what it was about.
I think this game gets a lot stronger at the end of Act 1 and into Act 2. Like, it really levels up into something. It was already pretty good and really enjoyable. And then Act 2, it just feels like it starts to really come together. There's some big moments, some really beautiful art. People are going, "Cat hates the art of Expedition 33." I think Act 2 is when some like really terrific stuff starts coming out. Very soulsy, actually.
Yeah, I got frustrated, boss.
I'm gonna back you up a little bit because like I do think there's a lot of love for Clair Obscur, all of it very deserved. I was playing through Act 1 and I was going like, this is cool. I love the water dungeon and stuff like that, but I don't know. And it was, I think, the Stone Cliffs, which is the last dungeon in Act 1, where I was going like, yeah, this is good, but like, is it really going to hit that? And then everything that happens in the fallout of Act 1 into Act 2 is where I was like, oh no, yeah, it's that. And then you immediately go into dungeons like the Forgotten Battlefield is maybe my favorite dungeon in the game.
The Forgotten Battlefield's an excellent dungeon.
I love the look of it. I love the design of it. It's so incredible and like awe-inspiring in some ways. Like it's very
the music
good.
That plays when you're fighting the mask boss.
Yes.
Which is very sad music. It's playing in my head as we speak. We've said before that we really liked The World Ends With You because of the sheer variety of battle themes. Expedition 33 has that as well. I also love when you get the very French accordion music.
Yeah, when you walk up to a mime, it's like, like, yeah.
Like I said on Blue Sky, it's like whenever I hear an accordion, my Slavic blood stirs for shenanigans.
Slavic shenanigans.
There's also another one that I really like, I think, is in the area of Minoko Station and stuff like that, where you get that theme for Minoko, and it's jazzy and it's a little bit funky and it's real good. And then there's another one that's like dubstep basically, and it's just dropping the beat. And I think the soundtrack is such a huge boon for this game. I cannot stress that enough.
I'm on the cusp of finishing Act 1, so because I got frustrated at the boss, so I decided I was going to knock down the difficulty just to get through it. Because I want to get it done already.
Are you doing the side stuff? I recommend doing as much side stuff as you can.
Yeah, this is a game where you can get underleveled.
I might, yeah.
Every boss I run into, the first time I encounter them, they just destroy me. The second time, I start to understand some of the parrying and everything and the timing. And then by the time I finally beat them, they're basically not touching me while I go and do my thing.
Learn is that there's a tip that says basically almost everyone has a weak spot that you can shoot at. And sometimes it can be kind of like, I know for, I don't get the impression there's a lot of enemies you can do that to. Like there's some bosses that are like, okay, obviously this should go, but
for the Act 1 boss, I would say that paying attention to that is very, very useful.
Yeah, I am, but still.
I I think something, and so Kat committed this cardinal sin. I am gonna put you on blast for this.
No.
Because it's the same thing that Ken got wrong in that last episode, and it's very funny that I keep hearing people not notice this. Pictos are incredibly, like, I think they are more useful than levels. Like, numbers are good. Number go up always helps.
What are you talking about? I know Pictos are good.
Pictos and Lumina. Using your Lumina to equip Pictos across the parties.
Oh, I figured that out in Act 2.
Yes.
Because of Expedition 33's fantastic interface. It's really good.
The menu.
It's not ridiculous and not ridiculous at all.
Very
UI
thoroughly.
is maybe one of my biggest knocks against this game.
Too many clicks, my friends. They really bury the. I kept like leveling up the Lumina. I'm going, what am I doing with this? What does this matter? Also, I don't think upgrading your weapons really matters that much because you keep getting ones that are a lot better.
You do get ones that are
whatever.
You do get ones that are better, but there are a few. The reason why I say side content is good is because there's one that I got for Luna that's in one of the early side boss areas that I used the entire game because its effect was that good, and I just kept leveling it up, and it was doing work as it went on. There are characters. I think the one you get from Mael's duel in the arena is also extremely good and carried pretty far into the game. But Lumina and using Pictos, mastering them so you can carry them across, and also getting the Pictos that are in the side areas, so helpful. I learned about one that was in an optional boss that I skipped over that made me furious that I didn't have it for some of the end game stuff I was trying to do. I was just like, no, that would have been so good. Oh my god. And so yeah, it's worth chasing that stuff down for sure.
Mael is now my tank because I put on a confidence Picto that allows her to. She can't be healed, but she takes basically no damage, especially when she's in defensive mode. And I also attached a skill that allows her to block for all characters, effectively turning her into a knight.
I had never thought of doing that.
Oh, I got that one.
Barring an area of effect attack. So I have Verso and Luna doing a lot of damage on my behalf. And then Mael's just blocking for them all the time. And you can revive her as well if she goes down. So you're pretty much fine on that regard. And also, I'm not saying she can also still do damage because if you mark an enemy with the if you mark an enemy and then use one of Mael's attacks, you can still do quadruple 9 damage on an enemy, even when she's in defensive mode.
Yeah.
So
I made Mael a glass cannon. Like, Mael was basically every hit she did was quadruple 9s, like hitting the damage limit. And I think basically my party was all glass cannons because my mind was, well, okay, if I can dodge and parry everything, then I just got to not get hit. And it's really interesting. I have not heard anyone try to do a tank build or an aggro build, but I had not considered the ways in which the systems allow you to do that, and that's really interesting. Huh.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility with all the characters. I like how all of them are really different. I was having a hard time learning Monoko, but then I unlocked some new abilities with him, and I was able to. And then all of a sudden he became just a support beast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he has this one ability that if the wheel goes to the right ability, he will not only put a shell on all of the characters, but you'll also get a shield. So it'll block any attack, which is massive because you can be in a situation where if you miss a parry in this game, you will get messed up really badly.
Absolutely. And
it can completely throw you off or put really bad status effects on you. Also, status effects in this game, really powerful.
Huge. Yeah.
Burn on everything. Burn it all.
Burn's incredibly good. Mark is incredibly good. Powerless and Defenseless are very, very good. And also, like, Clair Obscur lets you do really cool things with how applying one thing will also apply another thing. So I had Monoko with that like apply shell to everyone, but then I also had him holding a Picto or mastering a Picto that was when you give somebody shell, you also give them powerful. And so now he wasn't just giving everybody defensive stuff, he was also buffing their other stats, and then you could give them things that were like when you gain shield, gain 1 AP and stuff like that. You can build these batteries, these engines with the build that, like, again, like complementary. It reminds me of Octopath Traveler 2. It's the way that you have these systems and these characters that are so well defined and so in their own lane that you can start to really build them out and let them encompass something, but also play with the whole team and build up these really interesting synergies across what they do, until it feels like everybody is super powered in their own right, and then the way they click together just enables them to get even more powerful through the synergies. And that's good. That's real good. Like, a good turn-based game should make you feel like you're breaking it, like you're doing something that should be illegal. like the devs are gonna patch it out in the next one, so you need to beat the game before they patch this out.
I love a turn-based game that manages to keep introducing systems well into Act 2, which this one does. And Xenoblade Chronicles 3, to its credit, also keeps doing that. And it's a fun way of, the gameplay keeps getting deeper, the number of strategies keep proliferating, and it keeps it from becoming boring. I like Expedition 33's enemy variety. It seems like every area I go into somewhere that has these interesting themed enemies that will really mess me up in an individual encounter. One thing that I think this game gets incredibly right is every encounter is fun, even when they take a long time. And I don't see that in a lot of RPGs. And I think it's because of the action aspect of it. Because when you are successfully parrying or dodging, it feels great, and it really kind of captures your attention. And I think the way that the mix of action and turn-based strategy, both of them are very important, but neither completely subsumes the other. And I think that's why you're seeing this kind of breakout for Expedition 33, where it is going beyond kind of traditional RPG circles and getting a lot of extremely positive buzz. And I want to write an article this coming week where I'm like, Final Square's been trying to make this game for years and years and years and years. And out of nowhere, Expedition 33 comes out, and they nail the balance. They get it right. And so it's a game worth celebrating. I see a lot of people speaking of it in the same breath as Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far yet, but I'm loving it. It's really got my attention. And when I got to the end of Act 1, I just went, whoa, okay, I'm in. I'm all in on this game. And it's just continues to be a lot of fun. The vibes are off the chart with this one. Cannot recommend enough.
I think it's really exciting to see this game take off the way it has. And I even was saying I don't think it's going to hit this kind of high.
I wasn't expecting it to hit this hard. I really did not. I thought it was going to be very successful within its niche. But I think having plus 90 Metacritic really kickstarted the word of mouth in a big way. And very popular, very strong reviews on Steam as well. I think it's extremely positive, maybe.
There's also something to be said for like seeing this game feel like you see it and you're like, oh, that looks exciting to play. It looks fun to play. I'm going to enjoy that. It feels
great. The impact of attacks.
It is fun to learn. It's worth learning.
Yeah. I think that is one thing that maybe something like a Metaphor might have struggled with, because I think for the non-turn-based fans out there, they look at Metaphor and they're like, okay, so I just kind of pick a thing and I watch it happen, and then things happen to me and then I go again. And I know I've talked to a lot of people who are not turn-based fans, and some of them are being won over by Clair Obscur, because sometimes just adding a little bit extra and having less time where you're not doing anything on your controller really does help with that helps them get into the ideas of what a turn-based game can do. And so if this is the Trojan horse that gets you to play stuff, welcome to the better side. You're living more deliciously, as that goat from The Witch said. You're gonna play Octopath Traveler 2 next.
Numerous candidates for Little Freako of the Year, by the way.
Yeah.
I love the Gestrels so much.
The Gestrels are great.
The Gestrels. The Gestrels, that weird little pot that runs away, the mime.
The mime. I mean, Esky. Esky's a big freako.
Esky
is pure. Esky is the best of us.
I love Esky.
We all want an Esky.
Oh my god, Esky. There's this moment with Esky that basically made me want to cry. It was so good. You know exactly what I mean.
Francois.
If you played the game, you know what moment that is.
It's
so
he's just so
haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, the bit with him and Francois yelling across the cave is still like that
was pretty
and the bit that happens when you meet Minoko in at the station and they have the back and forth. He's like, there will be fighting. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let's go then. It's incredible voice
really
work.
Buoyed by
incredible
the voice at work and the direction really buoy this game for sure.
Friend of the show. Thank you for the shout out, Ben Starr, but also Jennifer English, incredibly good. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting names now. I'm looking them up. I'm sorry. I feel bad. Incredible work. Andy Serkis, obviously very, very good.
Yes.
But Luna's voice actress, incredible. Very, very good.
I can't believe they got Andy Serkis in this one. And Charlie Cox.
Who does Andy Serkis play in the English cast? I use the French cast.
The old man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kirsty
Ryder, incredible. Rich Keeble, Shala Nix, some like really, really incredible voice talent that's like giving it their all on the English side.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33, one of the great joys of the year. I'm going to finish this one, so we'll do a spoiler cast.
Yes, we should.
At some point in the near future, because I think there's plenty to discuss. Actually, I'm on deadline now. I need to finish this ASCP because I'm going on Kind of Funny on Wednesday to do a spoiler cast with them.
Oh, nice.
What? Cat?
She's cheating on spoiler
This
cast,
keeps
Eric.
happening. We're doing a direct to stream while I'll be on Kind of Funny. Hey, Kat, we should do a spoiler cast. I don't know. A week later, oh, we should do a spoiler cast, and I'm going on Kind of Funny to do it first. What the hell is going on? What
I promise I'll also do a spoiler cast for
in the
Axe the
fridge
Plug
over
Guide.
there. they giving out candy.
Coke Zero.
Yeah, what's happening?
It's good for the podcast.
Uh-huh.
It's getting people to see the light that is an
it's
RPG
reigniting
podcast.
the spark in the podcast. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So my point is that it's good, and also we will also do our own. We'll also do our own spoiler cast.
Ours will be
With
better.
Blackjack.
Yeah.
Blow.
Yes. Yeah.
Ours will be really good.
It'll be great. Oh, well, hello, Pete. Well, see,
Pete.
they came from Kind of Funny. It's great to have you. It's excellent. Really glad to have you here. Cat's loyalty stat is low.
Yeah, the social link
facts.
just went down. It's the first time.
Friendship
Everybody
ended with Blood God. Now Kind of Funny is my new best friend.
They should make a
So-
persona where you can lose social link. I think that would legitimately
That-
it would make
yeah,
people
yeah,
cry.
yeah.
Like they would.
That's one thing that somebody pointed out, by the way. Expedition 33, actual adult characters with facial hair and everything.
Facial
As
hair.
opposed, it's nice to have real adults. We said this about Like a Dragon. It's nice to have real adults.
I'm going to say this as vaguely as I can, but it is really noticeable in the way they handle social links and discussions between characters that you are dealing with a crew of adults that are dealing with the problems that somebody who is
Issues.
32 would deal with. Yeah. It's very, very strong in that regard.
I haven't taken a crap in 13 days. That doesn't happen, but
I don't understand how the relationship thing works, actually. I mean,
progression.
I'm going and doing when I'm in camp, I'm doing the hang out with your party members. And I do the write in the journal. But
Do you talk to
I guess
them?
do you just talk to them?
Do you talk
Is
to them
this like Final
individually,
Fantasy
too?
VII Rebirth? No,
Well,
I don't.
You should go talk to them individually because they will have
Okay.
separate ones. That is also not super clear, but there are the ones that you get from the campfire where it's like hang out with everybody or check in with everybody, and then you also want to talk to them directly, and they will have individual ones that are you should do those because like mechanical spoilers, they unlock some abilities as you get further in. So if there's stuff on your menu that you see with lock symbols on it, that's because you need to raise the social link with them, so you want those.
Oh. Well, this is really well explained. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
I'll go check. I'll check it out.
One of the larger knocks against this game for sure.
All right, that's it for the tavern. Nadia, take us home.
Something I've realized lately is that the Final Fantasy series kind of works as an Asian zodiac, where if you say like your first final or your favorite Final Fantasy, even kind of determines where you and when you were born, or when you were born rather. Like us old people, for example, Kat, we say like, oh, we like 6, we like 4. Eric, your first was basically 10. There's a lot of people I know who 14 is their first. But anyway, I say this because, speaking of 14, I was playing 14, and if you're playing 14, you know that you have the moon missions now, where you're up there and you're, making the moon safe for people to live again. And it's a very fun little thing because it's not a serious like battle or anything like that. It's a thing for crafters and gatherers, so there's no fighting, just a lot of talking as we craft stuff and get points for it. But anyway, there's also these missions that pop up where you're like, oh my god, there's toxic fungi growing on the moon. Everybody like get into a mech or try to get into a mech and, let's go destroy the toxic fungi. And you can do it on feet too if you don't get your mech off.
Not the fun guy.
No, they're not as fun as originally explained on the package. But yeah, so when they're playing these ops, you get actual retro Final Fantasy IV music, because this is based on Endwalker's content, which was kind of based more on Final Fantasy IV. So, as we're doing one of these toxic fungi missions, the music they're playing is the battle theme for Final Fantasy IV, like chiptune. Very SNES, right? So of course I'm up there like, yeah, this is my shit. And there's all these little assholes in the chat saying, "Oh my god, if I had to listen to this all day, I'd kill myself." Like,
oh no! How dare do not besmirch the name of the Final Fantasy guitar rolling.
Okay, but like that with like some Subway Surfers below it and a Family Guy episode playing above it would go kind of crazy, right?
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
Think about how much more you could fry your neuron receptors if you were doing that.
I said, like, hey, this is, takes me back to the 90s. And they're like, oh my god, you must be in your 30s.
You must be so old, like at least 35.
I said, try 44. And then someone else who's named Rockman Dash, which is really funny if you're a Mega Man fan, said, yeah, I'm 38. And then someone says, nobody who's under 30 plays this game.
Dear diary, today I was outed as old in Yell Chat.
In the Yell Chat, yeah.
Today the Zoomers found out I'm old.
I was making cushions for moon rabbits. Yes, that makes sense. Don't commit me.
I was so on a positive Final Fantasy news. Apparently, Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering set is the best-selling set already for Magic the Gathering.
It looks gorgeous,
and that gives me a lot of hope for Final Fantasy on the whole as a franchise. I think maybe Rebirth has helped to introduce it to a little bit more of a new generation. I think certainly more so than 16. Though you were mentioning that it's a little bit of the Zodiac, like you get aged based on what Final Fantasy you like. I pre-ordered the Terra set for Magic the Gathering.
Nice. Oh, I want
a lot of people are pre-ordering the Cloud set because it's ostensibly going to be the most powerful.
Yeah.
It's going to have some good cards in there. It has Yuffie, and I'm like, I do want Yuffie. And then there are the people who pre-ordered the Final Fantasy 14 set, and that just tells you all you need to know about them. And admittedly, the set itself looks good, but I'm not that interested in the characters, so I'm not going to.
You
need the theme to be good.
You need to spend more time with Stola rule, yeah.
Oh, Mommy Y'shtola, I'm not going to say no to that. Kidding me?
You don't know yet about Y'shtola.
Yeah. I don't know.
They put Y'shtola on that cover, and I was like, there are two characters you can put on that cover.
Does she show up more in Heavensward?
I mean, she shows up everywhere, but she's probably one of the most prominent scions, I would say, next to Thancred and Urianger.
If you didn't have Y'shtola doing what she does in the game, there would be no Seven Scions. There would be no game. Anything that happens story-wise is because Y'shtola is a smart one who can get shit done.
And sometimes Y'shtola does some crazy shit and gets into trouble and causes problems, but you know what? I support Y'shtola rights and Y'shtola wrongs. You know, I'm here for everything that Y'shtola does.
You have to be. She'll kill you if you don't.
It seems like Tidus got the short end of the stick in many ways.
I think his deck is cool. I'm less excited for it just because I think it's like a blue-white deck, and that's not really an archetype I like to play when I play Magic. I'm much more...
Really? I love that. Blue-white. Oh yeah, no, not blue-white. I play green-white.
Yeah, I enjoy...
green-black.
I think black is usually my favorite color out of the 5, and then I'll also try to mix in either a white or a blue or a green with that. I really like black green, actually. That's usually where I tend to end up playing, but I'm excited to see what they do with those
graveyards.
Cards. Oh yeah. I just want to keep bringing dudes back.
Separately, I played Commander the other night, and that got me into a big Magic kick, and I think I've found a good Karlach Dragon deck that I'm gonna build. Yeah, so I was like, I want at least 3 decks. I've got my Murder Squirrel deck. This is for Commander. I've got my Murder Squirrel deck. I'm gonna build my Karlach Dragon deck, and then I'm gonna have a Celeste. Celeste is gonna be my commander. I'm gonna have a Celeste deck for Final Fantasy, and I feel good about all these shits. I have to really be invested in the commander. I can't be mixed on them. They have to be amazing.
So this is just the summer of Blood God plays a ton of Magic the Gathering. Then, like, this is the summer we all get into Magic the Gathering.
There are ways that we can play the card game on stream.
Yeah,
but it would require another camera.
There's
a whole thing. There's a whole thing where you can do that.
You could do physical stuff, or we could do Arena. I don't think Arena supports
Arena
Commander,
does not support Commander.
If I remember correctly.
No.
Yeah, but we could do other Arena stuff. I've had the thought about doing like drafts and stuff like that on stream, which I think would be kind of fun. But we can figure some stuff out. We can put some stuff together.
We just need a dual camera, and then if we have a second camera, then I can also paint minifigures on stream and play some music.
This pivot's
and that would
crazy. I like this pivot.
Yeah, it's a good pivot. And on that note, that's it for this week's episode of Axe the Blood God. Thank you for joining us, and thank you so much for supporting us. We had a good crowd once again here on our Saturday stream, twitch.tv/bloodgodpod. Please like and subscribe. We try to do this on the reg. We're about a month away from a huge month of streaming for Axe of the Blood God. We're going to be doing SGF. We're going to be doing the charity stream supporting Trans Lifeline, and many other things as well. So make sure to subscribe to us and follow us and keep supporting the work that Axe of the Blood God does. Patreon.com/BloodGodPod. And on that note, I want to say a special shout out to our most loyal supporters, the Stars of Destiny. You get access exclusively to our post show. And this morning we had on our pre-show Anthrax Bees, Drew RWX, Harvest Lunatic, Cal L, Laguna Matata, 124, Sardin, Spooky Man BR, and Stargazer. You're all amazing. If you subscribe to the podcast, you get access to our side quest that's coming up this week, Free Run, and we're also doing a book club. What's the book, Eric?
Our winner for the book club vote, which, by the way, our 4 options were All Systems Red, the first book in the Murderbot Diaries series. A Psalm for the Wild Built. This Is How You Lose the Time War in the 5th season. It was a close race. It was a contentious race.
It was very close.
Yes. There were leads lost and won. But the final winner is the 5th season by one, I believe, N.K. Jemisin.
What is it?
It is.
I have never heard of it.
I'm pulling up.
What's the elevator pitch? Just one sentence or less. What is it?
The Goodreads log line here is 3. Oh, that's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be.
That's no fun.
This is great podcast. I'm trying to take 2 paragraphs and summarize them in my head very fast. Bad things happen. The stillness falls upon the continent, spewing ash enough to darken the sky for years or centuries. There is a 5th season, the titular 5th season, that comes through and just creates.
Oh, it's just like Harvestella.
It's about climate change. It's like Harvestella. It's
Harvestella, the book, the evil season.
Essen must pursue the wreckage of her family through a deadly dying land. Without sunlight, clean water, or arable land, and with limited stockpiles of supplies, there will be war all across the stillness. A battle royale of nations, not for power or territory, but simply for the basic resources necessary to get through the long, dark night. Essen does not care if the world falls apart around her. She'll break it herself if she must to save her daughter.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, very excited for this one.
The book.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to read this book, and on Fridays, we're going to get together in the Discord. We're going to have a combo about we're doing a proper book club here on Axe of the Blood God with the hosts. Come join us. You can get onto the Discord for just $1 a month. You can get it ad-free for $5 a month. Okay, that's it. That's it for us. We're heading into the post show now. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitch. Follow us on Patreon. Follow us on Blue Sky. Blood God Pod. But in the meantime, I've been your host, Kat Bailey. We'll be back again next week. And for Nadia, Eric, and myself, thanks for listening. Happy adventuring.